A happy man taking us to 23 minutes past 11. And so McLean kept talking about Craig Hardie. So we have Craig Hardie right here in the studio. So welcome.
Thank you. Hi there.
How are you?
I'm very good, very good.
Okay. Nervous?
Of course I am, yeah.
A little bit, maybe. All right. So tell us about this thing that you're doing with Shekinah Invest. So you're from longevity development.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Longevity is basically a culmination of all the learnings that Johnny, my business partner, and myself have taken from, both of us got over 20 years business experience, but in particular the last decade where we created Malawi Mangoes.
Okay.
And it's really taking everything we've learned, the mistakes we've made, the good things we've done, and taking that to say we can advise other entrepreneurs, investors, donors, businesses, and help critically implement. A key part of longevity is the implementation, and a part of that is human capital development, so your people, investment in your people.
Okay, so you guys own Malawi Mangoes?
We don't own it, we were the founders of it, so we were the ideas people. But because it was such a big project, you know, it's had over $40 million invested.
Wow.
Over 5 years. It's the money men. The money men own Malawi Mangoes.
Oh, okay.
We still sit on the board, but yeah, we're the founder. We're the ideas people.
Okay. All right. So longevity, basically, what it does is, you know, give ideas and talk about capital with people.
It's really trying to create. If anything, I was describe it. We're trying to create more Malawi Mangoes out there.
Oh, so more businesses.
Yeah, and also on the donor side, help them develop more enterprise-focused solutions. Because we're really passionate about business, responsible business ideally, and we believe, particularly in somewhere like Malawi, that's what's missing. And that is what will create, you know, real development of this country.
Okay. So what made you decide to partner up with Invest Malawi on this bootcamp session that is coming up on the 25th?
Well, basically, the youth is the future of anywhere, and there's a lot of people who have ideas, but do they have the exposure to, you know, how to change that idea into something that actually happens is another question. And Johnny and I are passionate about this, we're passionate about the youth, we're passionate about this country, and it's just something we felt we could put back. So we're doing this as, you know, a favour for Invest Malawi because we're passionate about creating opportunities for the young people in this country.
Okay. You think Invest Malawi is worth it?
Of course it is. Definitely, it's a great idea, and I would love more and more of those things out there, because the more opportunities for the youth to do this, the better.
All right. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the bootcamp session that is coming up. What's going to be involved? How's everything going to work?
Well, as McLean said, it's, you know, what is your market? Now, before we talked about feasibility, but I thought that was a bit bland, boring.
Yeah.
But for me, the market is always where you start. If you do not understand your market, you cannot develop your proposition, and you cannot actually have a creative business. Okay. So it is the fundamental piece of the jigsaw, and the very first piece you have to do.
That's your market.
Yeah, know your market. You have to know your market. You need to understand your market, and from that, everything else spins out.
Okay, what's the worst that could happen if you don't know your market? Like, you know, everybody else can buy. For example, if I got into a business of selling, maybe, let's say, phones. Like, anybody who owns phones, I mean, you know, can get a phone from me. Why do I need to understand the market?
So, for example, just in that case, what phones are you selling? To who are you selling them? Because there are many types of phones. There's smartphones, there's basic Nokia phones or Chinese phones. There are varieties of pricing. So you need to know who your market is. So, for example, if you bought in a load of smartphones and then you thought, I'm going to sell these to all the people in a village, you're going to find a rude awakening that they can't afford your product. Yeah. So it's a very simple example, but that is getting your market wrong, not understanding your market.
And it can cost you a lot of money.
And it can cost you a hell of a lot of money.
Okay. All right, so as the time gets to 28 minutes past 11, we're going to go off for a break, and we'll be right back to continue to talk about, you know, the bootcamp session and anything else that you can tell us on it.
Okay.
All right. So this is a song coming in from. All right. Okay. So from where you're from, you decided to come to Malawi and do this whole longevity thing and Malawi mangoes and everything. Obviously, you noticed something that was lacking here or there. I don't know. But my question is, let me get to the question. My question is, what difference is there between the way people do business here and the way people do business there? Even in the youth and everyone, entrepreneurship in general.
I would say, and this is my personal opinion and observations, I think it's related to the lack of opportunity and exposure to business.
Okay.
And when I say business, I mean sort of true business, taking a long-term view, access to the skills and the training related to that. So this is actually a huge learning of part of working in developing Malawi mangoes, was this need to invest in people who are out of university and really invest in developing them and their human capital. So this is from a leadership, skills, on-the-job training, but really developing them. And I'd say, I mean, the only difference really compared to, say, in somewhere like the UK is that you're probably starting from a slightly lower base. So you really need to sort of develop from the ground upwards. And I only purely put that down to lack of exposure to opportunities in, big companies that have got processes, procedures, have been doing it for many, many years. The leading HR strategic HR, I'd say, in terms of developing people, not just human resource management. So I'd say that is the key difference that I've observed.
All right. Okay, so what would we need for, apart from, all these trainings that are happening, but what is it that, what in your opinion, what is it that you think that can actually push Malawian youth to get